Well, this is exciting. Joe Hildebrand is here in the Man Cave. Lots to talk about with him and the wonderful Michael Kroger, making the most of the beautiful place that is wonderful Melbourne, with a pep in his step because everything's fine in Liberal Town now. There's a new leader. It's just a formality, right? Okay. So let us just talk here. And again, look, I get it. State politics, if it is not the state of which you live in a national show, can be a little bit frustrating. But I did want to talk about what is now starting to happen here, which is you're seeing next generation, you're seeing a change in gender, you're starting to see the Liberal Party, which is always referred to, Michael, as the one that has a problem with women. And yes, you can point to that in terms of the seats, 27 of the 28 that have been lost since 2022. When you look at the electoral roll, every single one of the 27 of those 28 have more women enrolled to vote in those electorates than men. And of course, I'm not suggesting all women at once and all blokes, but nice foot forward. This is a good thing that they're going to do in New South Wales. If it makes you competitive in an electorate that in many ways wants to see a change, good.
Yeah, look, it's going to be tough still. The coalition need, I think, 12 seats up there, and it's over 9% to swing to win government. So that's a big number. But look, she's very presentable. She's very bright. She's got a very good career in the media, which certainly helps you a lot. And as I was saying last night, I mean, look, mate, the personality of a leader in state politics is today incredibly important because the public don't have time to read through every policy and understand everything. They go by they vote according to their general impression. The general impression of the two leaders. That's basically what they're doing these days. And Malinowskis is a perfect example. Everyone seems to like him, but no one could name a single policy he's got. So I think she's going to be good. And we've got a star down here in Jess Wilson, who, again, another big mountain to climb. But if anyone can climb that mountain, she can, because she's had a wealth of experience in politics all her life.
Now, let's all feel old together. About 20 years ago, Joe and I were working at the New South Wales Parliamentary Press Gallery.
That's right. Back when democracy was great again.
Oh, wasn't it just? Everything was flawless and
shining a light in dark corners.
But what's really interesting is that as so much policy and politics has changed, right, was really interesting. And look, you know, you don't want to kick a guy when he's down, but still, when everyone's giving out sort of the roses to Mark Speakman, oh, what a wonderful speech. It was 30 minutes and he was carrying on like he'd been the Prime Minister for 15 years. Again, great, fine, fair enough. Thank all the people you have to. I get it. But he also needed to be gel-ignited out of the damn thing. And the reality is that fixed 4-year terms, generally not in places like New South Wales one-term governments. So the conversation that will inevitably be happening, or the pitch that happens, is give me 2 cracks at it, give me 2 cracks at it. Reality, though, is Peter Dutton would have thought that at a certain point in time. Jess Wilson maybe to a certain point in time, and potentially Kellie Sloane here too. So there is a reality here that Chris Minns is doing pretty well. He's moved the ball forward, but he's leading a minority government right now.
Yeah, look, I think technically he may, with the latest Kiama by-election,
but it's just
win,
it's either B's
yeah, that's right. So I think he might just be in front. That is absolutely true. Technically, it was until very recently a minority government. However, the margins that he got in some very, very blue blood Liberal seats at the last election. Like, he looked like he was going to knock off a few, you know, like he was getting 15%, I think, in one of the seats in southern Sydney, you know, real blue ribbon Liberal stuff. So in a sense, it was a very uneven swing towards Labor, but I don't think Chris Minns is going anywhere. I think Kellie Sloane is an absolute fantastic choice as leader. I think she was the obvious choice and the only obvious choice as leader. And frankly, I think the fact that Mark Speakman didn't realise when it was time to go just underscores how unsuited he was to the job. It just could not, I mean, you could not read the room less than to know that this was your chance, frankly, to potentially dodge a bullet because he would have underperformed badly, but also to shore up your political future. He could have, like a John Brumby, you know, come back, admittedly didn't go well at the polls, but at least got to say he was Premier. You step aside gracefully, you say, you know, the colleagues have spoken, and you know, arrange for yourself to become the next Shadow Treasurer or whatever.
Correct.
And then in state politics, as the last Liberal government in New South Wales showed, It's like a kid's birthday party. Pass the parcel. Everyone gets a prize.
Yeah,
everyone gets the present. Everyone got their turn.
Now, Michael, I asked Stephen Conroy this question last night, and it probably should have been the one that I led off with you now. But as a bloke who, of course, party president, you've been around, right? Have you ever been, and let's not do names here, but have you ever been in one of those conversations, the looking the dead duck in the eye, saying to them on the day where they woke up saying, I'm going to hold on, but by the end of the day, you know they're done? And generally speaking, do they know it, or do they all think they're Winston Churchill and, no, I've got to come back in me? Like, how give me an idea about what some of those more uncomfortable moments are like, because obviously everyone likes each other. Well, not always, but give me an idea what it's like when you are tapping on the shoulder.
So, mate, I was in one of those discussions. Normally in the Liberal Party, it's a matter for the members of Parliament. So people outside the parliamentary party basically don't have much of a role. But I was in one of them many years ago. I remember more talking to a few federal members back in the late 1980s, where I had to go to their home and explain that I was withdrawing my support from their pre-selection. And whether it's a leader or a member of Parliament, you get the same reaction. And it's a belief that they can do no wrong. They've been told for years that they are going to be Prime Minister, they're going to be Premier, they're fantastic, you gave a great speech, you're wonderful. So many people, the adulation that our MPs get is extraordinary, from the public, from party members, from the media, etc. And they believe it. That's why the disconnect between Canberra and Spring Street, state parliament around the country, and reality can be a big one. Many of our MPs are totally out of touch with what is going on. That's the problem, because they fall victim to the adulation syndrome, and they believe it. And
but also,
they don't believe you when you tell them it's time to go, mate.
But also, it's a thing about politics, and Joe, you've seen and heard this from the media side of things. So many politicians believe the ultimate solution to everything is more me. Sometimes me is the problem, and when you're having a conversation with just general people going, more me will work, you go, no, it won't. All right, a couple of other things to get to here, including, before we get to the net zero of it all, I like that in Victoria, they are starting to talk about the idea of actually changing laws to say that, like, a week before an auction, the actual reserve price must be known to all of the people that are going to try to bid on a house. This is a very nice, very simple, I'm sure somebody else's idea, but I'd love this to go national. Why? Because we've all been in the scenario where you put in the little search to realestate.com.au about where am I going to go, and then you start to go, ooh, this one, and it ends up being very different because of the information that real estate agents are putting on it. You think that this is a good idea? Yeah,
I think it's a great idea, and similar things have been tried in Victoria and here in New South Wales as well, where, you basically said you can't, you're banned from underquoting, and in real estate agents who underquote are going to get, severely penalised. And of course, you round them up afterwards, even send in secret agents to auctions and stuff and speak to you, how much do you reckon it'll go for, blah, blah, blah. And even when they're out by a factor of hundreds of thousands of dollars, which was inevitably always the case, they could just say, but I honestly thought that, defence of the truth, Your Honour. So I think it does need to be something more set in stone. You can't obviously pretend you don't know what the reserve is. So, roll it out and roll it out everywhere.
Fine and fair enough. Now, Michael, let's get to the cop of it all. Don't you love the Prime Minister, once he's sort of been rejected by, the beautiful object of affection that is the United Nations? He tried to cuddle up. He brought the roses and all of it. It was going to be a big night. Big couple of days in Adelaide, right? United Nations says, sorry, we're going with Turkey, but don't worry, here's the lipstick on the pig, which means old mate Bowen can keep blah, 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 blah. Here's the deal, right? I love that they're all going to turn around, and I heard a couple of people say this, they weren't really that into it. Garbage. They spent millions of dollars being into it.
I saw the video a minute ago of Bowen saying we're hot favourite to win. Look, here's the reality of this. One, Labor are very lucky they didn't get this conference.
Agree.
I mean, $2 billion in Adelaide. I mean, there would have been a whole year of Susan Lee and Dan Tehan and every state Liberal leader talking about how $2 billion is going on this conference. That would have murdered Labor. They are very lucky. Secondly, what's the world done? The world has enough problems, Paul. Now we've foisted upon these unsuspecting nations of the UN Chris Bowen. Right? For a whole year, this bloke's out there banging. It was bad enough to foist on the Americans Kevin Rudd, and now we've foisted on the world Chris Bowen. I mean, the only good news is that the more time he spends out of the country, the better. But here's the rub of it. Susan Lee has probably had her best week as leader of the Liberal Party this week.
Yeah, I agree.
And Dan Tehan's done very well too. She's turned what could have been a disaster, and many of us thought this might turn into a disaster, net zero. Lee has very successfully turned this into a debate about one question. When will energy prices go down, Mr Albanese?
Yep. And
she's said it 100 times this week, and it's impacting. And I think it's impacting a lot more than the loss of a net zero target. Because people think they've now starting to think they've been conned.
No,
so she's had a good week.
I agree completely, but it's also why I pointed out the Murray Watt thing, right? Get ready for the lie being they don't believe in climate change. They don't think anything to do. No, despite the fact they've all stated their position. It's why I'm showing it. It's why I'm going to keep showing it. So when you inevitably have these arguments over a weekend, you get to push back. Lads, I literally need 5 seconds from both of you. Winner, loser of the week, Joe Hildebrand.
Look, I'm going to go with winner Kellie Sloane, pretty self-evidently. She won in a really clean way without even getting her hands dirty, so a classy act. The loser, I was going to go with Mark Speakman, but he's already suffered enough. So I'm just going to go with anyone who's in the Epstein files.
I think that could be.
You're going to have a rough few weeks.